V6 last year's standard engine has been discontinued. That's been replaced by the 2.0 turbo 4-cylinder that's in the ATS, and then it's geared a little different and it's now in the CTS this year. This engine versus the V6, if anybody complains about that going in, there's only 4 key things you need to remember to offset that disgruntled attitude about a 4-cylinder, which I had too when I heard 4-cylinder was standard, because I go back to the days when everything was big block V8. The 3-liter V6 it replaced was 270 horse. This is 272 horsepower. Not a big difference, but it is 2 more horsepower. The second thing is that last year's 3-liter was 223 foot-pounds of torque. This is 295 foot-pounds of torque. That's where you get your power from, and that's what you'll feel most in this car when you drive it. The third thing is that the fuel economy's gone up to 30 miles per gallon highway, so that's 2 more gallons on the highway, and 26 miles per gallon city, that's another mile per gallon city highway. The big factor in this is, and again because of the torque, they've shaved a second and a half off of 0 to 60 from the 3-liter V6 to the 2-liter Turbo 4. And if anybody's ever had anything to do with racing, you know that to shave tenths of seconds off of quarter-mile time for 0 to 60, guys spend thousands of dollars to accomplish a tenth of a second. 1.5 seconds faster than what it was last year on the 2-liter turbo. I would have never guessed driving this if the emblem went on the back and somebody told me that this was a 4-cylinder. I've run cars a long time. I guarantee your clients, unless you tell them or they've read about it, they won't have any idea that it's a 4-cylinder either. It doesn't act like a 4-cylinder, doesn't perform like a 4-cylinder. Everything about it says bigger engine. And that all comes from that big torque of 295 horsepower. So nothing to be ashamed of. It's a standard entry-level car to have that kind of power and performance. The secondary engine, if they still can't wrap their arms around this, is the 3.6-liter V6, 321 horse, 275 foot-pounds torque. So it's still a little less in torque than this car has. And then the third engine that will be available this year is on the all-new niche market that they're creating called the V-Sport. In V-Sport, you step up to the most power-dense engine they've ever produced for Cadillac, and that's a 3.6-liter twin-turbo engine, 420 horsepower, 430 foot-pounds of torque. Phenomenal engine, mated with an 8-speed transmission. So it's our first 8-speed and first twin-turbo in a Cadillac, and that car is an absolute beast. Anybody ever owned a turbo or driven turbos? Most of the time, if not all of the time, turbo intercoolers are right here behind the grill of the car. And when the air comes through it before it gets the boost, it passes through, goes all the way to the back of the engine, comes all the way to the front, and then into the block, and that's why you feel that they call that turbo lag. And there's always a hesitation. You hear it kind of winding itself up before it finally kicks in. At that point, they're looking at the taillights of this car because GM has a patent-pending design that's exclusive to Cadillac and exclusive to the CTS. The intercooler on our twin-turbo engine sits on top of the engine block. The twin turbos are mounted up in front. So as the air comes into the turbos, they're passed up to the intercooler and right down into the engine block.